Hey, I'm Sid Masterson, one of the co-founders and mentors in the Mentoring Men community. And in this video, I want to talk to you about some common mistakes that many men in the world make in long-term relationships like marriage or really any kind of long-term monogamous commitment to a woman. And that mistake is this. It's mistaking the idea that a woman's loyalty will keep her in the relationship for the long term, and that it can be in some way trusted as being how you can know that your relationship will endure for the long term. Now, immediately this might raise some cackles for people, and so I want to try to talk about what I've seen, what I've experienced myself in my 32-year relationship, and what works and what doesn't work. Now, the nature of men is kind of to do something, to see something squared away and then move on to the next thing. One of the things we are as men is single focused. We're very intensely focused on something that matters to us, and then once we feel like we have accomplished it, we tend to move on. And so because men are like this, and because a lot of times men get in relationships earlier in life, they are intensely focused on the female that they're in a relationship with. They get maybe to the altar, or they get married, they start a relationship and a family, and then their passion and dedication moves on to other things. Now, it's not that they don't care about the female anymore, their partner or their families. It's that it's just kind of our way to expand into something new, conquer it, for lack of a better word, make it happen, and then go on to the next thing. And so men kind of feel generally their best when they keep expanding into more and more and more things. And so one of the things we expand into earlier in life, hopefully, is a marriage relationship. But our nature is then to move into something else, and it's our way as men to oftentimes look backwards and say, well, we already did that. We already kind of secured a relationship. And yet it's not at all how females think. And so a woman married to a man will want to keep experiencing him expanding the relationship. But it's not our nature, because we tend to think, well, I already have a mate secured, and so why do I need to do that? And we get focused on other things. We get up in our heads. We pursue other stories, other missions. A lot of them are kind of small sometimes, maybe like egoic-based missions, like being wealthy or being well-esteemed, and we lose sight of the relationship. And that's oftentimes when a woman feels unseen, unheard. She feels no longer celebrated. She does not feel chosen or invited into his day-to-day life, and the relationships gets dull. And this is a very common place, especially around middle age, where a woman will kind of sit there quietly, usually for about 2 years, stewing in unhappiness. She's doing things to try to get her partner's attention. It's not working. She's very ripe for leaving the relationship. And just about that time, another man will come along, take notice of her, give her all sorts of attention, excite her. She feels those things that she wants to feel in a day-to-day relationship with a man that she's not feeling with her husband, and boom, you got an affair going. Now, when this happens to men get really torqued, and they say, wait a minute, you vowed to do this. You vowed to be faithful. You're not loyal. You're not, where's the loyalty? You're a low character, low integrity person. And I get why men think this, because the way men think, where we secure something and move on, and we trust things like integrity, we trust things like vows, our words mean a lot to us. Women see the world a little differently, and it's not that their integrity doesn't matter and character doesn't matter and vows don't matter. But you see, when we're having that moment saying, how come you're not loyalty, or you're not being loyal? How come you have gone off this direction? How could you? A woman has been saying that for 2 years about the man, and her complaint looks a little different. Hey, you said you were going to hold and cherish me forever, and you did it. You got all up in your head. You're never present. You're always distracted, and you're living in a different story. And so they see us in that moment as having moved away from our fidelity to them. And a lot of men don't understand this. They say, well, I don't hit her. I don't call her names. I've never cheated. I don't go out to bars every night. And they say, well, because of that, I'm somehow just killing it as a husband. But a woman knows differently. She knows there's way more for us to expand into, to become as a man, if we weren't chasing some of these other futile things, namely fame and fortune. Now listen, I'm not against fame or fortune, but we can get so caught up in stories that are all really about pacifying our insecure sense of self that we really lose sight of the big picture. We're not living in a grand mission. We don't know who we are, and so we're living in a very small way. And that small way also includes kind of drifting from things like pursuing the woman that we're married to. We stop dating her. We stop actually expanding the relationship. We stop penetrating. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily sexual penetration, but we stop just being a man that is broadening his horizons, who's broadening the square footage of the relationship space that he shares with a woman. And we stop doing this, and she has grown to see this, a cheating woman usually, as a lack of fidelity. To her, it's no different than had you cheated, because you haven't kept what she thought was your word. Now, this is going to happen to just about every man. Now, not every man will experience a woman who walks away from the relationship or who cheats on him emotionally or sexually, but most men will get caught up in some sort of pursuit or focus that makes their female partner feel like she's been moved past, and make her feel like she is no longer important. And she will see this as leaving your post. To her, that is a betrayal of loyalty. Now let's talk about loyalty for a minute, because a lot of men are like, yeah, but she still shouldn't have cheated. And I'm not saying she should. This is not a video to try to justify in any way a woman's infidelity. It's just to help us experience as men and understand why women do some of the things they do, and how to be a different kind of man that inspires and leads to a much different outcome. Now, a lot of men live life like this. They live as though they're driving on a highway, and they're relying on the guardrails to keep them on the highway. Think about how stupid that would be, right? We don't drive around relying on the guardrails to keep us on the road. They're really there for the extreme circumstances where, through a lack of control or an accident, we lose control of the vehicle. They're there to keep us plummeting off cliffs and going into other lanes. But yet a lot of men rely on guardrails, things like loyalty, to try to keep a woman headed in the right direction in a relationship. But that is ridiculous, right? It's not effective to think that the guardrail is going to keep the marriage headed in the right direction. And such a man is extremely focused on concepts like loyalty. And what he's missing is, to her, it feels more like fealty. Now, if you don't know the difference between loyalty and fealty, loyalty is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But fealty is kind of like a pledged loyalty that you would make in a feudal system to a lord. And many guys love this in their ego. Oh, she's going to treat me like I'm a lord. But a fealty-based way of being in a relationship is very transactional. It's very much she is making some sort of commitment in order to get something back. And this way of living, a lot of people do because they're foolish enough to think it produces results, is a horrible way to live. It's a transactional-based system of transactional, quote-unquote, love. It's not really love at all. It's just mutual exchange. It's very contractual, and it tends to create a ledger between people. You hear me talk about this all the time in our videos. And that ledger, you start to build up how well each party is doing meeting their commitments. And that fealty is not a fun way to be. It's not gratifying for the man or the woman. And so what I want to inspire you with is a whole other way to live that's not focused on the guardrails. It's not focused on fealty, and it's not focused on loyalty. Instead, it's focused on devotion. devotion in that metaphor would be like really, really, really focusing on just how tuned your vehicle is and becoming a skilled driver who is just enjoying the road. You're enjoying and you know that road so well, you know your vehicle so well, you could just about drive with your eyes closed. And so while you're thankful for guardrails, you in no way need those guardrails to keep you going the direction that you're going, because you trust yourself, you're confident in your vehicle, and you're confident in your skills driving that vehicle. And this is what it's like to live in a relationship that is built on devotion. It's being the kind of man who is doing far more than just not calling her names, not cheating, and not hitting. That is a small story to live in as a man, and yet a lot of men live in that and think because they get up and go to work every day and put food on the table that they're somehow entitled to the devotion of a woman. But you won't get that. You won't get that as a man unless you are living on a daily basis in your absolute best. And a lot of men get irritated to hear that. That's not fair. That's not fair. Forget about it, right? It's fair because why would you want to do anything different anyway? Why do you want to live anything but your absolute best? And so if you want to live as your absolute best, female or not, well then live as your absolute best. And if you're doing that, if you're a man that is looking to expand himself in every way, including your capacity as a lover, as a partner, as a father, as a husband, as a member of your community, as a member of humanity, then you're going to inspire a lot of devotion in your partner to the degree that you are trusting that it's not the guardrails, it's not loyalty, it's not this fealty system that's going to inspire her. It's you being a man that passionately and enthusiastically loves and cares for yourself and for her. Now, as a man that's living this way and has lived this way for a good long while, I could tell you the rewards are far better than a man who is focused on loyalty, a man who is focused on fealty. They sound like a good deal, but they are absolutely a compromise where you are actually trying to do as little as you can but still has some assurance and certainty, rather than being all out, forgetting about the concept of certainty, which no human being gets, and instead deciding to live in a way that you are so intense with yourself as a man and in the relationship that your partner is just gaga about the relationship. That is devotion. Devotion is a woman's deep admiration, affection, and appreciation that inspires her to that commitment. And that commitment, that devotion commitment, is 1,000 times more superior than just loyalty or fealty. And yet to be that, you have to be a certain way as a man. And many men balk at this because we all have a part of us, our brain, that's trying to get through life with the absolute minimum amount required. We're all kind of C+ when it comes to relationships in the long term. That's our normal way. Now, I'm not saying we all always live this way. It's just kind of a natural thing for a man in a long-term relationship to become kind of like a C average at the relationship, just hoping that he can just give it enough to keep it okay while he pursues other things. But you know, a partner, a female partner, will keep pushing you to be an A+ everywhere in life, including your relationship. And that's intimidating, because to be at A+, you have to find and address all kinds of crud in your life that is very disquieting to encounter. All kinds of areas where you're insecure, you're afraid, you're ashamed, you're anxious, and you're uncertain. And you have to go to the place that you become face to face with these things, these very difficult things to look at. But you know, conflict in a relationship will bring you to that place. And yet, we so often spend so much of our time as men avoiding this by saying, why can't you be easier? Why can't you just stop complaining? Why can't you be happier? Why can't you be more like a man? Is actually what we're oftentimes doing, because we just want easy. This is just part of our own growth from immaturity to maturity, is that we eschew challenge. We avoid adversity, but it's that challenge and adversity that we get in a long-term partner oftentimes, and not every partner, but I'm talking in general concepts, that's pushing us towards being our best. And yet we so often mistake this, that we say, I need an easier woman. And a lot of times we'll make decisions to go and pursue an easier woman, and much to our peril, we find out later that we're no happier, we still feel horrible, we feel incomplete, we don't find the things we're looking for. And really what we have to blame is our distaste for challenge and adversity. So I want to just paint this picture that there is a better way. There's a better way to learn to be as a man, a way to cooperate with the complex process that is a long-term relationship like marriage. A way where you can learn to see the conflict and challenge and adversity you're experiencing, which all marriages will encounter, and use them to push you in a direction of your best, to push you from moving from that C average kind of way of being that you've gotten accustomed to and that you're hoping you can just drift and coast into the future, and it pushes you towards your absolute best, but it's painful and it's going to be difficult to get there. But in Mentoring Men, we're a group of men around the world who are devoted to being our best. We're not small playing men. We're men who are playing with everything we have in the pot, right? Knowing that that is the best way to live. We are men that are stomping on the gas on that windy highway, where we are not relying on the guardrails to keep us safe, but we are learning to trust and develop our skills as drivers and tune our vehicles to live completely balls out. And what happens, what men tell us all the time as this happens, is they start to see shifts in their spouse. They start to see themselves deeply inspired towards being their best and their greatest. And many of these men come to us with broken marriages that look like they're going to fail. But as they step into this way of being and they stop focusing on things like loyalty and fealty, but instead decide to be men that are living in a way that inspires devotion, what they see is devotion. And the fuel that brings to a relationship is wonderful. That is where you experience the deepest, most profound emotional connection and intimacy you have ever had. And you get those things by becoming that kind of man, not by cracking a whip or finger wagging towards a spouse saying, you owe me, you have vowed this, you have vowed that. That kind of way of being never inspires a woman towards more closeness. What it does instead, and unfortunately some people even value this, is it inspires fear. And no relationship based on fear is going to be a deeply connecting, emotionally and sexually satisfying relationship for either party. And so if that's what you want, please don't come to our community. You're not the kind of man we want to have a relationship with. We're looking for the kind of man that wants to become a man who inspires deep devotion in his partner, in the people around him. And he doesn't do that by wagging fingers or judging or telling people what they should be doing differently, but by looking inward and becoming his absolute best self, by raising the bar every day on who he wants to be and who he will be, and living that life. If that message resonates with you, we want to talk to you. We want to have a conversation where we get to know you and find out more about what's going on, find out what the consequences have been for you living in this kind of C average state. And we want to show you how to move from being a C average guy who's playing kind of small, whose best who can do is just asking for loyalty and fealty, and want to show you how to Be a man that inspires devotion, first from yourself, then in your relationship, and send you down that highway with your foot on the gas, just trusting that your relationship and with yourself and with your partner are going to be okay. If that inspires you, if you want that, we're the people to talk to. You could scroll down below in the description of the video. You'll see a couple links in there. One of them is to request a session to speak with one of us, and that's totally complimentary. There's no sales pitch. There's no BS marketing funnels here. We're as authentic in person as we are in these videos. People tell us this all the time, that they love this about us. We're going to have that kind of conversation with you about your life, where we don't try to sell you anything, and we're going to show you how to get started in this. And so with that, I wish you the best. I wish you prosperity as you seek to be a man that inspires devotion, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care.